Welcome, everybody, and thanks to the New Jersey Antique Radio Club for sponsoring this meeting and providing the Zoom feed. We really appreciate it. Um, how about now, Paula? You've already introduced yourself, but why don't you do it again? Because there were only a couple of people on at the time that um, you did it. So why don't you tell us who you are again?
Can you hear me now? I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Uh, I s- Look, I'm 65 years of age. I'm nearly 65. I started mucking around with TVs in my teens. Didn't know what I was doing. I sort of self-taught in TV repairs. I got a lot of guidance from. I used to work for a company in Telstra, sorry, in Australia called Telecom, which became Telstra. It's a company now existing. It's our major um, telecommunication network operating here. So I worked for them for 38 years. I retired 7 years ago. But during that time, I used to love mucking around with electronics. Um, and I've had a couple of published books that are available internationally under my name, Paul Heterolazes. So you'll see them. The first one is called Retro Audio, a good serviceman's guide. You can look it up on Google. And I published that for Electro Publishing about when I was 56, in 2016. Then I wrote another book last year, 1,000 hours of that work in 1 year. So it was a dedicated effort. And it was on all forms of repair, including TV, the CRTV TVs and VCRs, which I got into later on in the 80s. And I was essentially repairing predominantly VHS technology and the PAL system of signaling. So I didn't know much about Seacom and all the other stuff. And it's just constantly reading, repairing, mucking around with the things and TV sets. So I put a lot of context of my repairs of TVs in that second book. And that second book's called, I've got a copy of it here. I can show you. This is a bit of a promo here. Um, Here it is. Have I got my video on? Is the video on? You can see me?
Yes, we see you.
Just of you.
That's the book there,
Yeah.
the second one. You can see that.
So out of focus.
Okay, can I just bring it back? Can you see it now? I'll put the light on maybe. Can you see it?
You gotta go back more to focus.
Hang on. Oh, sorry about this. Anyway, that's available, currently available at Electra as well. And title is Consumer Electronics Repair, Reuse and Recycling, a combat guide against e-waste and throwawaysm. That's basically trying to restore old electronics, and not creating a lot of e-waste. So I'm a sort of campaigner against wasting. I'm a sort of climate activist in terms of controlling energy. And one way to control energy is not to rebuild things through mass production. So you just use what you got, because I believe although the newer technology is designed to be disposable and discarded within a certain life cycle, the older features, technology like TVs and that, have a nostalgic feel to them, of course, like we all know about that, but they can still be reusable and have that sort of same tangible feeling we had when we were young. So the market's also picking up on a lot of people buying CDs in Australia and vinyls. So turntables are now being reproduced. So yeah, that's in terms of television, what you're probably asking about. Yeah, I just had a passion for TV fixing since the my teens, and I haven't repaired a lot of TVs, probably a couple of hundred, probably more so in the VCRs. but the technology was basically limited to VHS, not Betamax. Even though Betamax was a better system. And yeah, just interested in it by a lot of reading and a lot of work on the weekends and after hours of my work. So that's essentially, I've done a couple of design circuits and designing a bit of everything in electronics, but it's in my genes. So always loved it. A qualified engineer, did my degree over here, over 10 years part-time. I built a robot in the year 2001. And that robot sort of sensed what do you call it, items around it like a vacuum cleaner, and just moved away back to a microprocessor. So yeah, I just had a varied life with electronics, so and I just love it, and that's why I joined this group, because you all seem to have that same interest and passion for electronics, from different angles, of course, and different experiences. So
Well, then
that's me.
we'll let you stay.
Yeah, well, I've got interest in all. You've got certain interests, and you've got expertise everywhere. All different. Everyone's got their own experiences and their own expertises. It doesn't matter what the component of a electronic device is. You all got equally different educations and but in different areas. So that's where I love my enjoyment. It's a pure passion. So I hope that's clearer. And you can ask me anything if you wish. Yeah, this is only my second meet anyway.
Thanks, Paul. Welcome.
Yeah, no
Glad
worries.
you're here.
Yeah.
Anybody else new that hasn't been on a meeting before like to introduce themselves? No, I guess everybody else is an old timer. Good. Um, talk a few minutes about the museum. Um, we are moving ahead very slowly on our hope of acquiring a new building. There's nothing new going. Well, there's lots going on behind the scenes, but there's nothing definitive to report. As soon as we have a deal put together, we will be announcing it, and you'll learn all the details. We're didn't get any new members this last month. We're stuck at around 240. I'm July 1st, go to a half year rate, because you only get a half year of membership. So we'll be pushing that in a week. But if you haven't joined, please, or renewed, please do that. We can use the money. We got a bunch of new things recently. Some of them I may have reported on last month, but I'll mention them anyway. We finally got, after a real problem with FedEx. They gave us a runaround. The museum is not open during the week, and that's when FedEx delivers. We have a sign on the door that says, "Please deliver to the business across the street." Big letters. They never do. So it ends up in one of their warehouses, and they kept moving it back and forth between three different warehouses. So it took us 3 weeks to get the damn thing. But we have a new old stock 12 AP4 that's been donated, which is very nice. We also were donated a very ratty TRK-12, complete, but talk about mice. Lots of mice along with other problems. But anyway, good for parts. And Mike Molnar wanted it for parts, so Mike's got it. A little income for the museum, and hopefully something he can use. We don't know whether the CRT is good, but pretty good chance it is. Most of those tubes were good when you tested them. We are picking up this month a donation from Stan Bielski. Some of you may know Stan. He came to the convention every year, and he has quite a collection of particularly broadcast equipment, cameras of all sorts. and quite a few late 40s black and white sets. And he's donated them to the museum. Bob Dobish is going to be going over in a truck and picking them up in the next couple of weeks. We'll be then trying to dispose of them because I think there are only a couple of items that we want for the collection. I think there's a TK14, which is very rare. We'll hold on to that, and everything else we're going to be selling. We've got our sweepstakes are not moving very well. I'm going to do another bonus ticket promotion in a couple of days. Hope that drums up some interest. The prize is a very nice RCA 21CT55 with a good metal cone CRT in it. Perfect restoration candidate. It may actually have been restored. I don't know. I haven't had a chance to look. It was from John Folsom's collection, and he restored most of the sets that he had. So anyway, if you're interested in that, also supporting the museum, buy some tickets. The next event we have coming up is our swamp meet, which will be October 17th, I believe, and that's when it'll be a one-day event, and that's when the sweepstakes prize will be awarded. So that's my report. Anybody have any questions or comments? Well, let me move on to the item I'm going to display this week. And this shows what, hold on a minute. This shows what happens frequently in this business. Years ago, a couple of years ago, we had a ATC Kennett, which I'll pull up, donated to the museum. It's one of the only sets. It's the only example that exists. Many of you may have seen it. Let me share my screen here if I can do that. Okay, come on, Steve. Well, everything is working except what I'm looking for. Let's see. Okay, come on, folks here. Oh, there we go. Finally found it. Okay, are you all seeing the my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, this is the Kennett, and um, it was designed for Bloomingdale's department store and maybe others. They put a bunch of these things in sales areas and had a camera at a central location, and they fed video and sweep to these units. They were designed to sell products. I'm not quite sure how they did, but in any case, um, they used a 5-inch. Here's a picture of the opening where the CRT went. It obviously did not have the CRT. And it used a 5-inch CRT with an 8-inch magnifying lens in front of it. Well, when we first got it, we started researching what the CRT could be, because it is it's a 5-inch tube, P4, obviously pre-war, 1938, but it has an 8-pin and octal base on it. And we couldn't find anything. Chuck Azalina did some research for us and found that it was the only tube that met that those specifications were a National Union 2005. Well, guess what we saw on eBay the other day? Guy selling a batch of, I think, 6 CRTs. All of them were P7s and of no interest to us, except for this National Union tube. So I made a deal with a guy, and here it is. I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like a 5BP4, except that it has, the neck is smaller, and it has a octal base on it. So we now have the CRT for that set. This happens sometimes, if stuff comes out of the woodwork that you never expect would. I don't know if we'll ever get that set going. We traced the schematic, and the set's been badly mauled. I'm not sure it can be restored. Maybe missing too much stuff, and we can't even trace the schematic accurately because so many wires have been cut and so forth. But we got the CRT if we ever get to it. I know where I can get a lens or an approximate lens for it, so I'll probably go ahead and get that. So we'll have a complete display at least. So that's our find of the month.
What kind of deflection?
What's that?
What kind of deflection? Electrostatic or magnetic?
Yes, electrostatic deflection. And you can see with 8 pins, if you figure it out, that's pretty hard to do. They end up tying 2 of the plates together, deflection plates, one horizontal and one vertical. And they use all the pins, obviously. Any other comments or questions?
I will bet you could make it work even if you have to cheat and use guts out of an old oscilloscope or something to fire.
Yeah. I'm sure that's possible. I thought about using we've got a bunch of old junk oscilloscopes. It wouldn't take much. The thing is that it might be easier to use something like a 7-inch electrostatic set and just reduce the high voltage, because all the deflection circuits are, with the exception of one tube, are in the master unit. So they sent horizontal and vertical sweep to each unit over coaxial cables at high voltage. And they also sent the video straight over. You can look at our page about the set if you want to, and you can see what we've determined from the schematic. But it would need, external horizontal and vertical sweep, as well as video amplification. What could be done, and probably maybe somebody would take this up as a project.
I think I'd be tempted to take a 5-inch Panasonic solid state monitor and mount it in the thing with the I mean, it'd be a lot easier, you could.
It sure would.
Yeah.
And I guess you could you could fit it in there, I think, and mask it so it looked like a round tube, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about doing that.
Or maybe, a 9-inch, but whatever, they're a dime a dozen. You can find lots of those, and they work. And all you got to do is give a composite video signal to the thing, and you got a picture.
Yep.
That's way better.
That's a good idea. That might be.
Well, for display purposes, I mean, I realize it's an authenticity thing, but there's a point where it's a Herculean effort to do this stuff and then it's going to blow up
Yeah.
because it's using antique
Of,
components.
cour-
Yeah.
of course. I think that's a good idea. I'll look into that.
Yeah.
If it's like a 5BP4, you might have to find a way to crappy up the picture.
Sorry, I didn't catch that, Mike.
I said,
I said if it's like a 5BP4, you might need a filter to crappy up the picture some.
that's pretty easy to do.
Little Vaseline
Figure
on
out.
the lens.
There you go.
Yeah.
That'll work.
Right. I could figure that out. Well, that's a problem we have with the museum now that we're facing. As we get more and more of the 40s sets going, I think we're now up to about 15 sets that work. And we have 3 or 4 volunteers that are coming in August to try to get some more working. Well, the local IFs interfere with each other. The radiation from them, because we have both 21 and 42 megahertz IFs. And even though we have good isolation on the, in our distribution system, back then they didn't pay any attention to how strong the local oscillator was. So the radiation may be getting there over the air or maybe getting it through the cables, but we haven't had a chance to diagnose it.
Hmm.
Any more comments, questions? Well, let's open it up for discussion. Bring up whatever topic you want and get to it.
I was
I
going to
see Wayne's,
mention
go ahead.
I was going to mention I saw something very interesting the other day. I've said jokingly that if we wait long enough, the CRT problem might go away because we'll be 3D printing CRTs at some point in the dim distant future. But somebody has actually done a proof of concept that I hadn't thought about before, and that is using a screen, which could be a glass CRT faceplate with phosphor on it, and scanning it with a laser. And apparently they've got some kind of a thing hooked up that works. And I thought about it and I said, that would be cheating, but in the best possible way. You'd actually get a scanned image on a phosphor on a picture tube. And if we have to cheat, that seems like I'd put my money behind that.
A lot of new video projectors are using lasers instead of a light source. So perhaps the parts might be fairly readily available. You never know.
I guess they scan then, I guess, don't they?
I think so. I really don't know. But I know there's a bunch of them out there now. They're a little on the pricey side, more than a DLP projector or something, but they're not crazy prices or anything. And stuff like that has a tendency to come down. A video projector years ago might have cost you, $50,000 or something, and you can buy something for $599 at Walmart. Actually, you can buy something for about $1.25 or something at Walmart. I think they got something like $69, in fact. They work.
This experiment you're talking about, is it color or monochrome?
It's monochrome, but I think people are postulating that it wouldn't be impossible to do it with color either. It's nice living in the future sometimes.
Yeah.
Field sequential scanning.
Actually, in the True Confessions department, we've got a 1947 Philco projection TV that the CRT assembly was missing. It looked like the thing had been restored. The box is really nice. So I stuck a RCA, $69 RCA video projector in the thing and play a really crappy looking video from about 1936 or something through the thing. It looks really authentic. You never know until you look at the back.
Hmm.
It's pretty easy. Projector came from Walmart, I believe. And you turn the color down, of course, so that it makes a monochrome picture. Works pretty good. It always comes on. That's the good news. And the cabinet on that TV was really nice, but without the rest of the optics or something, it was pretty useless. So solved the problem, at least temporarily. But it's been that way. I think we've been open almost 10 years now. It's been there probably 8 or 9 of those years, still working.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, we have at the local museum here. It's always a desperate race to try to keep the original sets working, and we're losing that race most of the time. But we've got one of our most popular displays is a TK10 camera feeding into a 1948 Crosley or something 10-inch monitor. The camera currently has a pinhole camera glued to the front of the camera right above the lens turret, and the receiver has an LCD in it, all of which are maligned by the purists. But yeah, that's been running since we set it up, and people love it, and most people don't even question it.
I don't know. Yeah, we have a TK41 that I actually got at an ETF auction years ago, a long time ago, and it was pretty much a gutless wonder. There was no way you're going to restore this thing. And it has a pinhole camera that looks like a Phillips head screw. There were a couple of screws on the front of it for holding a teleprompter at one point, and this thing looks more like a Phillips head screw than the real Phillips head screw that's on the other side of the turret. In fact, I had some kids in today that discovered that it wasn't coming out from the lens. They were putting their hands in front of the lens, and that wasn't doing anything. And so I confessed that what we'd done. I think I paid $15 for this thing. It's got a microphone in it too, which is even scarier, because but it really looks like a Phillips head screw. It makes an okay picture, not a great picture, but you don't want a really great picture coming out of a TK41 anyway. So it seems to solve the problem, and it's connected up to a 21-inch Conrack monitor, and everybody waves at it and really likes it. So it's sure a lot easier than restoring a TK41. We got another TK41. Hopefully we will restore sometime because we've got all the parts, but that's one of those round to it type projects. So it is a kind of a weird call though, because I'm really an authenticity kind of guy. I like it the way it was. I figured the people who designed this stuff knew what they were doing and had a pretty good idea. And I really like their technology and these guys were designing this stuff with a yellow pad of paper and a slide rule, maybe, and it's times have changed, but sometimes there's just no way you're going to fix the thing. So do what you need to do.
In the meantime, I have something that's a real artifact that I wanted to bring up. And I'm doing it because I see that Wayne's on the Zoom meeting here. And it's an early miniature TV from Zenith. It's got that kind of a weird angle CRT in it. I guess it came out before the Casio and those people came out with LCD screens. And I was wondering if Wayne can give us some of the history of these things.
No, I really can't. It's obviously sourced from Japan somehow.
Actually,
It might be
assembled in
some-
Mexico.
Assembled in Mexico. That's interesting.
But it's the CRT is some kind of weird flat angle thing. It's barely slanted in there. If you can tell, maybe.
I
from
think
that
Sony
picture.
I think Sony came out with the tube. We've
Yeah.
got a Sony that's very similar to that on display. And I
Yeah,
remember I had
Watchman.
the Watchman. I had some friends who had a video doorbell, and it had a similar thing mounted on the wall with that bizarre screen. I don't know who marketed it, but I will bet that the tube at least came from Sony. The rest of it, who knows?
It
was
has
a-
a 1985 date on it on the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, that'd
Have
be
you
about right.
had it open?
No, I haven't fooled around. I just found it in a box of stuff. The other neat artifact in the box was the fact that the box was a 1970s Zenith TV box, which is still sturdy. The quality certainly went in the box too when they made their TVs. But I just found this to be pretty curious, and I'll look into that Watchman thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember when those tubes came out, and I read an article about them when Sony brought them out for the little. Sony developed that tube for, I think, for their Watchmen series. And I remember reading an article in Popular Mechanics or Popular Electronics or something about those tubes when they came out. Those new flat ones.
Yeah, don't forget the Sinclair. The Sinclair tube was also weird like that.
I have one of the Sinclairs that looks like a more conventional tube that had the little switch for European standard, American standard. An amazing little thing will be crammed into one little box, but I don't know, maybe a 2-inch CRT, something like that.
Yeah, 2 inches is about right, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I've got a Watchman in the back. I could go get that and see if it looks like what you got there. I'll come back in a minute.
Okay. Does anyone know when the first LCD ones came out, the Casio and those type?
I would
Maybe
say
later
about 1985 or so, I think, but
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, I have one at home. My uncle gave it to me, and it was in the 1980s. I've still got it locked away in my garage. Little pocket one.
My wife gave me one for Christmas once when they first came out. It was really cool, except it made a really horrible picture. It was terrible. But it was a nice idea anyway, and I don't know what happened to it. Probably gone in a garage sale somewhere.
Yeah, there's a hazard in buying the first of everything.
Yeah, I'm wondering now if that Zenith one was made in a factory in Mexico that made all the or snapped together really all the Watchmen for sale in the U.S. Because there was a lot of that kind of snap together manufacturing going on to avoid tariffs.
Okay, I'll try to hold this up. Here's the Watchman that I have. It's not working too well.
Move it back a little.
Well,
There we go. Oops.
is that it?
You probably
problem
have
is
your Zoom
the
set up.
No, the problem is you've got background blur on, and it
That's
only
what I
takes
was
and picks
gonna
out your
say.
face. So that's not a face, so it's not going to show it unless you turn off the background blurring.
I don't know how to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a feature of a lot of the video conferences. It's the same reason he couldn't get he couldn't get his book to show up because he's got background blur on.
I apologize. This has got the original factory dust on it. I see factory installed has an option. It looks a lot like the one that you got. The CRT is closer to the front viewing area than the back of the CRT is. It's tilted as if it's tilting.
Tilted, yeah.
At the top, it's closer, and at the bottom, it's farther away.
Hold it back close to your face. Your face is in focus.
What if I put it where my face is?
Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, click the 3 dots in the upper right corner of your upper right corner of your picture.
I got to get this other thing. There's another menu that's on top of that.
Oh,
so
okay.
now there's one green dot here.
No,
And
you're too far up. Not in the main window. In your little window of your picture.
oh,
In
there's just a plus and a minus.
go
Put your cursor over your picture in the with your name on it.
Oh,
And
I'm on a tablet though.
oh,
Oh,
Unfortunately, yeah. It's
okay.
I'm sorry. What if I put the what if I duck down and put the Watchman where I am? Let's see if I can do that.
No, it's not gonna work until you turn off blur my background.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, it's not mechanical television, so I don't understand it.
Hold it back right by your face, right side by side your face.
That works. Whoops. Hold it in front of your face. That's good.
Yeah, that's looking good.
Can you see the top, the difference between the top and the bottom?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, the top is closer, but I think I think we found what it is. I think it's really a Watchman or the CRT from a Watchman.
Yep.
And you can see from my head what size it is, roughly.
yeah, this one looks to be a tiny bit bigger, but not much.
Yeah.
They make different sizes. The
Yeah.
gun is down where your hands are at the bottom.
Okay,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Down here.
Right. The CRT itself looks like a spatula. And
Yeah. You're
The
right.
other difference, this one wants you to be holding it with the screen down at the bottom,
yeah.
and it looks like yours wants it to be at the top.
I happen to have a Watchman.
Yeah. Same old, same old.
Yep.
Pretty much. Probably the same vintage Watchman. I know they went through some evolution.
If you just take a VCR with the modulator built in and take the channel 3 on the output and just touch it to the antenna, you can actually watch TV on it, watch a movie on it.
Yeah, the DVD converter box is bigger than the Watchman. Yeah, I don't think I've ever tried watching it. It was a Hamfest acquisition.
Yep.
And it says refurbished on the back of it. Maybe it came from that old comb company that used to refurbish this stuff. No, it came from Sony. Okay, I think they refurbished it. But I don't have the power supply that goes with it.
I think it just takes
I recall it takes a whole bunch of AA batteries inside the
takes 4.
core.
Yeah.
That's not too bad.
No, I don't know how long they last, but it takes 4.
Probably not long at all, but that's a whole other story. So
Well, I might have to dig into this thing, and if I can, I have one I found too that's pretty beat up. I might sacrifice that one to get the CRT out and see what it looks like. But thanks for the information. I'm going to have to drop out of the meeting today because my back is ailing, and this fold-up seat isn't doing me any good. So it's good seeing everybody. Catch you next time.
Bye.
I did dig out. I know I had this thing laying around somewhere. It's RCA logoed, made for Radio Shack in Malaysia. Somewhere mid 80s I bought it. I don't remember the details. I think it was a closeout or something. It's UHF, VHF scans for channels. Earlier LCD stuff. If I remember right, the picture on it really sucked, which is probably why it's been sitting in the cabinet all these years. Runs 4 AA batteries with a current draw over 0.5 amp, so that's not going to be much in the way of battery life. But it does have external power and AV input, as well as the internal RF off the antenna.
Is that color?
Yeah, it's color.
Oh,
Yeah, other than that, I really don't remember much about it. Like I said, I bought it back somewhere in the 80s. I don't remember why. I believe it was a closeout. And I wanted a small monitor for something. I just don't remember what the something was.
that was about the period when those were really popular. I remember that Casio made a lot of those things too.
And they became dirt cheap at one point.
Yeah, they probably didn't catch on, so they came down.
Yeah, I mean, I believe I got this as a closeout or something. Yeah, one of these. Yeah, like I said, it's RCA logoed, but the tag on it says made for Tandy Radio Shack, Malaysia. So it was some kind of off-brand wacky thing. And one of these days when I get bored, I'll put some signal on it.
Thanks for showing us that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's nothing special, but I had it laying around, and that was kind of the topic, so I figured, let me dig this thing out. So I bought somewhere in that time frame. I bought a. Oh God, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a gift for a friend. I believe it was a Sony, and I think it actually was a CRT set, about yay big. I barely remember that. I know I bought it as a gift. It was Macy's. They were discontinuing those items, and if I remember right, it was under $100. And that's about the most I remember about the thing, unfortunately.
Well, you found some deals during a period where there were lots of things that they were trying that none of them seemed to stick, but there were lots of little interesting types of technology during that period.
Yeah, I guess the consumer gadget market was starting to heat up a little bit, and I guess everybody was throwing their hat in, and some of that stuff bit and some of it didn't.
Yeah, I remember that Radio Shack invented the Thor disc that was supposed to be a video recording or audio recording disc before the big guys weighed in. It was actually a few months before, and as soon as Sony and the rest of them got online, forget it. It went away, disappeared.
Yeah, it's hard to fight that kind of marketing power.
Yeah.
And in the same cabinet that I keep this thing in, I have the Walkman WM2, which was the second Walkman they ever made from Sony. And then I have the last one they made, which was metal cased, only slightly bigger than the plastic shell a cassette tape shipped in. And that was complete with Dolby and equalization for CRO2 tape.
Wow.
And that I paid a damn good buck for. I remember that. That damn thing was expensive.
Yeah, my mother worked for Columbia Records when they got bought out by Sony Music, and then she wound up having access to a lot of the Sony type items. So I pretty much got every kind of man that they made. Got the Watchman and the Walkman and the Discman, because that was a compact disc one. And
oh yeah, I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, well that's what killed the Walkmans.
yeah.
And I'll give Sony credit. The fidelity of that thing was surprisingly good.
Mm-hmm.
With a good pair of headphones, it was really surprisingly good. I forget what I paid for. I think they were over $200 in 1980s dollars.
That'd be expensive today.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think it's over here. Is that one covered? What is that thing?
Oh, I just picked up this today or yesterday at the Goodwill. Little 5-inch CRT TV set, 1986. I haven't plugged it in. I haven't put a power supply on it to see if it works yet, but it's cool.
Yeah, there it is. That was the last iteration of the Walkmans.
Hmm.
Oh, that's nice.
A
AM,
25
FM.
a 25-year-old friend of mine thinks that these are very collectible. And apparently there's a whole group of kids that think that cassettes are hot now.
Well, that's a good thing.
I think so too, you know. I went through my collection of them, desk drawer looking for them, and couldn't find one that worked. The radios will work on them, but the transport usually doesn't. The rubber bands,
Give up.
the belts have given up. And I
Yeah,
don't look, you open one up and it's kind of like taking a Rolex watch apart or something. You know, you can take it apart, but you can't put the damn thing back together. Good luck.
That's the second generation of the things. The WM.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they did put it in a pretty heavy case.
Hmm.
They were pretty cool. I had several of them when I was, you know, younger back in the 80s, and I thought they were awesome, you know.
I mean, they have a latching steel rod to keep the thing retained, spring driven. So they put some thought into them. They're very well made. And the last time I used them, which was some years ago, they both still work, but by now the belts might be gone. I don't know.
the belts become sticky over time, like tens of decades. So you can still buy replacement belt kits, but as you would know, the dimensions of the belts have to be, replicated for machine, for playback. And I'm currently working on a well, I've done it already. I'm having trouble with the plastics because they're brittled, but it's a Tascam 244 recording. It's a recording a unit for a 4-track recording unit for music. I'm doing it for my friend. It's a love job. And I've done all these rubber tires, his pinch roller, and as I said, you can get the tires and all that readily available on Amazon, Temu. Well, there's a lot of places you can access that stuff, which is a big market now. But as you both said, there's a regeneration, a rejuvenance in the market for all this retro stuff, audio stuff like Walkmans and cassettes, vinyl players, record players.
What was that one you just held up?
That was a Sony Walkman AM/FM cassette player in sort of like a gray color.
Okay. You know which generation it was? It should have a WM dash something on it.
Let's see if my eyes are good.
Well, that's the other problem with trying to fix these things.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that you're working on that. Somebody brought you one of those to service. You don't see a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I volunteer. Now that I'm retired, I volunteer for what do you call it? A opportunity shop in Australia. And a lot of people bring in old retro stuff, video stuff. And if I see anything collectible, I buy it from the shop. I take it home. I fix it or strip it for parts. So there's a bit of a market in it. Even the old plasma TVs, I read about. We had an old plasma TV, and even the boards for those, you can resell those boards. People that like restoring plasma TVs. I know that, of course, they're a later generation to the CRTs, the flat screen, first the flat screen type technology, but there's a market in those too as well.
The only thing I see on it says WMF68.
Don't know that one.
FM AM stereo cassette player, and as I look on the cover over here, it looks like actually the cassette deck has a Dolby.
Yeah, the better ones did had Dolby, and some of them had the chrome equalization, the high equalization curve for the chrome or metal tapes. I gotta look at this one here and see what I forget exactly what all it has on it. It's been so many years since I used it. I'll just use stronger glasses.
Going back to tiny TVs,
Oh, there we go.
I can't remember where I got this one, made in China. I may have picked it up at Walgreens, but it's got AM, FM, VHF, UHF, and RCA jacks on the back for video and audio.
Nice.
Then there's
So-
this little bitty Walkman that is just it's an FM and weather radio. A Walkman Mini. Oh, actually, it's TV sound, weather band, FM and AM.
That's for all audio.
Yeah.
Well, Sony did pretty well in the they hit the mark pretty good on the portable audio stuff. That seemed to be their big claim to fame. Yeah, it's a good thing I pulled this off the shelf. The battery was beginning to fail. It's got one of those slimline NiCads in it.
I've taken to taking the batteries out of everything and putting them in a Ziploc bag taped to the thing, because things have a habit of sitting around for too long, and I must have 100 things where the battery clips are all dissolved off of them.
Well, that was generally what I always used to do, so I'm quite surprised to find the battery in this.
Yeah.
I noticed it wasn't
Yeah.
sitting there in a bag next to it, so I said it must be in it for some reason. And I don't
Yeah,
know if I can still get these or not.
I got one here. Let me see if I can put up a share screen. This is the one that caught my attention back when it was new. Let's see if this pops up.
I don't know if these are still available or not.
Does that show up?
Yes.
Yeah. This one they advertised as a cassette player that was the same size as a cassette. And, your first thought is, well, how the hell did they do that? So I had to go out and get one. They were exorbitantly expensive back in, 1985 or whenever that came out. And it slides open and you put the cassette in it. And when you're playing it, it's a half an inch wider than the cassette. But then if you just want to use the radio, you take the cassette out, close it up again, and it's the same size as the cassette. So that's that was just one that caught my attention back then. I still have it somewhere.
Probably all ICs on the inside.
Oh, it's got to be. I mean, if you look at it, the cassette cartridge itself takes up almost the entire space inside that aluminum case there. There's a ribbon cable going from the controls up in the top there in the front of this picture, and there's two AA batteries in there too. So there's not a lot of space left for anything else in there. It's pretty crazy.
Sony managed to pack. They were pretty good at packing things into a small spot back in those days. And I know down at the Radio Technology Museum, we have a couple of the RCA. Dave, you might remember what model those two little RCA portable TVs are. I think they were somewhere from the late 50s, early 60s.
Oh, I don't remember what model. You mean the like the 14-inch screen ones, or
much smaller than that?
Oh,
little guys. They weigh a ton when you.
Oh yeah, that's the little 7-inch one, the 8-inch one on the stand with the little red ones with the stand.
I can't remember the model on those.
I never remember model numbers.
I pulled one out of storage and put it on display because one of our buddies has the other one. He took it home for repair. And they're interesting how RCA managed to get everything in that little box. If you've never worked on one, when you slide the outer shell off of the thing, there's a couple screws you take out, and the chassis hinges open. It's basically two halves. That's the only way they could jam everything in there. Servicing it is obviously a lot of fun because of the way it's wedged together. But when the first one comes back, I'll take on the second one.
I just pulled this off the shelf, and it's not I don't have a battery problem with it, but I have the little plastic case here has started to exude plasticizer, and I can't get it's fused to the TV in there.
Yeah, it's always fun to carefully work out.
I'm going to put it in the oven at 150 degrees. That's
that won't kill it.
We'll have to take that chance.
Yeah, sometimes I'll put stuff like that in the sun for a while, and I'll get between the plastic and between the unit itself and the wrapper, and you can just kind of work it loose with a thin spatula, artist knife, that kind of a thing, paint knife. But I'm glad to see the younger set starting to pick up on some of this stuff. It's cool technology. I know there's the CRT TVs that were made in the 80s and 90s are big with the gamers. Sony made a number of, what were they, 30-something inch flat glass displays, and the gamers will pay a good buck for one that still works. Apparently they render the image more to their liking.
Here's something interesting, Paul. I don't know if you've heard about this yet, but Matt Reynolds grabbed a forlorn high-end, what used to be a high-end Sony tiny little TV, was languishing out in the back 40 in the museum storage, and he took it and ostensibly we're going to have that a display for newer. Okay, anyway, so he took it, and of course it didn't work. But what he did blew me away, just blew me away. He uploaded because I won't work on those. I do vacuum tubes. He uploaded the service. He found the service manual online, uploaded it to Copilot AI, told Copilot to read it, told him what the symptoms were, and asked him what he needed to do. And Copilot told him which ICs to change, and he did, and it started working.
Yeah, so I'm taking some classes on AI, and when you get good at prompting it,
this is a game changer.
You would be amazed at what comes back out of it.
Yeah,
I have a Toshiba. What is that thing? It's 27 something or other, 2696, which was the biggest flat square they made in those days. Weighs a ton because the faceplate obviously is quite thick. And those had the famous failure was the chip that controls horizontal hold would go bad. And for the life of me, I can't remember which damn chip that was. So I have to do the AI thing and find out what chip it is and change it. And then that's the only thing wrong with it. It'll come back to life at that point.
Yeah, but it's almost like a wish come true. I mean, the AI is going to eventually kill us all, but before it does, it's going to help us get a lot of this stuff running again. All the old guys, of whom there's still a few around, they know some of this stuff. They know all of it. They know a lot of it. None of the new people know much of it. I don't know hardly anything, compared to what some of these people know. And you got some books and you got some online articles, but the fact that this software aggregates it all and can actually reason its way through it and point you to a component level failure, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, it's really getting it. It's been reading a lot. Let me put it that way. So I do study that as part of my work, and it's a little unsettling in some ways, but on the other ways, there's a lot of us who are getting on in the years, and between everybody, there's a lot of knowledge. And I fear that we're going to lose that. And I don't want to see that happen. I'm involved in the hot rod world. And there's a guy and he just wound up in a assisted care facility. And he's one of the last people that I know of that knows how to work on General Motors mechanical fuel injection. And I'm trying to absorb that knowledge from him so I can pass it on.
Yep. Well, if this stuff is written down or even, audio or video recorded, apparently this crazy hive mind is able to make sense of it. Not all the time, but sometimes. And like I say, just within the last 2 weeks, my whole attitude towards whether or not this next generation of restorers is going to be able to do this stuff has changed completely.
It'll be a little bit tough because they're going to be dependent on what's been documented.
Mm-hmm.
One reason that I'm involved in the Radio Technology Museum. For those guys who don't know, Dave and I were part of New Jersey Antique Radio. We have a museum down in Wall that's mainly radio stuff and telephone stuff. It's more about communications technology really than anything. But we do, of course, have some televisions. You have to. And we're trying to, there's a couple of us that have a push on to bring those into the 60s and 70s and 80s. And the thing is, there's a lot of knowledge that people have that is not in the book, and you don't want to lose that. And we have some very talented people that are part of the organization, Bell Labs guys, Princeton Plasma guys, and we need to get that knowledge passed around. And the reason we want to expand the vintage range of the TV sets is when viewers come into the museum and you got your docent's hat on, even the kids' parents don't remember those televisions. But if you show them black and white Zenith that was around in the middle 1960s, a so-called portable in a steel box with fake wood grain, they will remember seeing that in their grandparents' house. And this is what makes them interested in the place. So we do have to expand our age range to cover stuff that these people remember. It might be a vague memory from their childhood, but we have to bring that back out. Or at least that's the thinking amongst a fistful of us. And we don't want the problem is, where do you get enough space? Because the earlier stuff is very important. You have to have that. It's got to be there for completeness. And of course, I enjoy it.
Maybe you need an audio or even an AV file of people's reminiscences as they go through the museum. If you could ask them a few questions for 5 or 10 minutes, then store that information and index it somehow would be very useful to all of us historians.
That is a fantastic idea. Thank you.
Yeah, and then of course, if it were online, then the AI could access it too, and you wouldn't get the frequent hallucinations that I see when I'm looking up mechanical television information.
Yeah, that's God. I don't know that AI has read too many books on that, and I don't know what's left in libraries on that it could even get a hold of. I don't know how much that's been digitized.
World Radio History. That's you got to go to Gleason's site, World Radio History, and then there's another archiver site, and ETF, of course, has a lot of useful articles that I've used for my book research, which I don't know if I'll be around to finish it. 51 years so far, but if I have it, that will be available too.
Yes, and that's the other problem, that a lot of this documentation has never been digitized.
That's true.
And you have companies like RCA that got absorbed and sold off and went away, and a lot of their documentation, some of it was saved and digitized, but a lot of it wound up in a dumpster. And a lot of Bell Labs history is at risk of that.
Well, fortunately, you have the Bell Systems Journal.
Yeah.
And that's in many libraries. I don't know how much of that is available online. I mean, Gleason's site is into the millions of pages at this point, maybe even beyond that. And there's things you wouldn't expect, but there's a lot of material that still is under license, like Popular Science and Popular Mechanics. But then you have people that were visionary, like Wayne Green, and he put all of his 73 magazines out there. And so there's several archives that have his stuff. The Gernsback stuff is mostly out there.
Yeah, a lot of
Radio
it.
News. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and it's and this is where AI is going to come in handy, because it is a very, if prompted correctly, it is a very powerful search tool, because manually sorting through and trying to dig something out of several million pages is of itself a daunting task.
And search is not as good as it used to be because it's trying to deliver us to the AIs and putting up lots of ads that pay to go higher in the ratings.
Well,
So
yeah.
you have to use this. That's how I'm learning about AI, which is a crazy back-ass way of doing it. But the search assist and then going into the AI and then learning to make better prompts, it's teaching me to make a better prompt. So I
Yeah.
don't have the education that you have on the AI. I wish I did, but there's not enough time right now. But the search assist by itself is very helpful because it's replaced most of the sorting through hundreds of pages of search results, many of which are tainted with politics and advertising.
Yes, it's an issue. Look up something called CORE, which is an acronym for context, output, role, example. And that's part of your prompting. You use the word context colon, and you indicate the context to the AI engine that you would like to see brought up, and use role colon, for example, to tell it its role. For example, role colon, you're an electronics engineer with 1970s expertise in television design. And it'll start pulling this stuff. So it's CORE, C-O-R-E, context, output, role, example. And the last one, obviously, is you type the word example, colon, and you give it an example of what you're thinking of or what you would like to see. And that really refines what it's doing. And
So you
I'm
start with
just starting to learn this.
CORE and then the colon and then context.
No, you don't even need the word CORE. You
Okay.
just start your prompt with context, colon, whatever your context happens to be, what you're
Okay.
doing, basically. And then if you want a specific output, you say output colon. In other words, give me a pie chart or give me a bibliography or give me the 10 most likely sources of this information. Otherwise, the thing will go on. If you tell me, give me all the sources for companies that made horizontal sweep tubes, this thing is going to give you more lines than you can ever read.
Yeah, they often have a lot of redundancy too, I notice.
Right. So by using context colon, you can limit that, or output colon, and then role, you tell it what it's supposed to be emulating. Is it an engineer? Is it a researcher? Is it a docent? You tell AI, hey, I want you to take on this role. Make believe you're this. And I'm just starting to fiddle with that. In fact, I was taking that course yesterday afternoon.
I'll say Wayne Brettel. That would be very helpful.
See what it comes up with. You never know.
Yeah.
It's, the thing with prompting is it's new to all of us. AI itself is new. It doesn't take all the prompts the same. But the thing to keep in your mind is that AI has unlimited patience. So if it comes back with something a little weird, you can either ask it for refinement, or you can open a fresh prompting window and look at its initial response, and then using human thought, okay, well, it's close, but I would really rather see this, and you tell it what you would rather see based on that in a fresh prompting window, and it'll come back with something probably more to your liking. And
Yeah, I've gotten into discussions with it, and
yeah,
sometimes it'll find things that it didn't see before if I give it a few more words.
Yep.
But it's also, it turns into a sycophant too, and then it's not very useful.
Yeah,
and it's very, very confidently wrong sometimes. And that's the part, at least right now, I guess we got to be really careful of. I wanted to look up some information about the pinout for a 12AP4 pre-war picture tube the other day. And because we were in a car, I didn't have any tube manuals or anything with me. So I just asked the ChatGPT or whatever, and it gave me the information correctly. But then I asked it about testing it, and it confidently told me that as a 12-volt tube, I should set my tube tester to filament voltage to 12 volts, and that would have immediately burned out that rare pre-war picture tube. But it was 100% confident in its answer to tell me to do that. And then when I chastised it, it said, "Oh, of course, you're right. It's a 2-volt picture tube.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that." Yeah, so it's we're not there yet, but we're
I
getting
found
there.
one once where the source that it gave for the information that it told me directly contradicted what it had just said.
Yeah.
And I told it that, and it said, "Oh, yes." And so,
Right. Yeah. What is that? Yeah.
yeah, and that time it wasn't just kissing my behind. It just hadn't looked at that, read down further in that source. And unfortunately, I don't think that the result of my discussion went into storage. I don't, it should have. It should have used my. I don't think it stores more than the prompt, at least on that browser. So it'll make the same mistake.
Yeah. I asked the question in ChatGPT. I wanted a circuit, a very ambitious question actually. And what I asked for was a schematic diagram. If I provided both the PCB side of a circuit board and the component side, could it draw out that schematic? He said, certainly, just give me both pictures. So I did. And it got nowhere near producing anything of a schematic diagram. That was one example. And the second one, I mentioned before how I was repairing a Tascam 244 loops, what do you call it, 4-track recorder. Well, the buttons in that particular key station have snapped because the plastic's yellow and hardened, and they're in pieces. So I wanted to work out a way of how you could actually refit those pieces together with glue and all that sort of stuff. And it provided me with the answer of say, oh, just use wire, and a perfect wire to use was the the lead wire of a component. But that's rubbish because the lead wire of a component is malleable. When you flex it, it doesn't spring back. You need a higher tensile type wire. So it was not even providing the right engineering structure for that particular that wire to glue on top of the button. So there's just two classic examples of where it fails. And there's an algorithm in ChatGPT where if you ask sort of perhaps questions of more of a personal nature, it provides you of what you want to hear, not what the truth is.
Yeah.
So it encourages you to put more and more questions in.
And one of the things to keep in mind is that the free stuff is not quite as good as the paid stuff, because in the paid stuff there's a lot of processor power being used.
I've got the free one. I've got the free one there, Paul. I should do what you're doing. You're doing a course, did you say, on AI?
Yeah, it's through my work. They want, because of what I do there, they want me to become quite familiar. They're pushing the whole company to become at least basically familiar, and they want some of us to become quite familiar, which is interesting at this point in my career and this point in my life. I guess this will be my last big hurrah in learning something new before I go out the door and hang my retired tile on my front lawn. Go pound salt. I'm done working for the rest of my life. But between now and then, I got to learn a few more things, and I enjoy it. I like to learn stuff. And one of the other tricks with the chat engines or the artificial intelligence engines is you do the game with one of them and you get responses. Well, put that same material into another one. If they both come back the same, you've got a reasonable chance of an accurate answer. If they don't, then you know at least one of them is dead wrong, and possibly both. And don't forget, these things are still just learning, and the algorithms are being rewritten.
Yeah, they're teenagers. God help us all.
Yeah. They're not even. They're adolescents with a bad case of imbalanced hormones. For those of you who have had teenage daughters in that house, I'm sure you can appreciate that humor a little bit.
Can't these people read anymore?
No, that would require work.
No, are you serious? They can't recognize words composed of characters?
Yes, yes, ChatGPT can read
Why is this problem?
because it's trying to. That's almost impossible for me to explain. It's pulling from so many sources, and it's trying to think like a human being. And since human beings really don't know how our brain works, can you imagine programming something to work like our brain?
I don't think it's possible.
It will be.
Well, fine.
A guy I
People,
worked with got his PhD in artificial engineering back in 85 or 86.
yeah.
And now we're just starting to see the results of some of that work.
Mm.
So as you can imagine, it's a tremendous undertaking.
Isn't it fundamentally algorithmic in some fashion?
Yeah. That level of it, I do not understand.
Are they weighting models? What is the structure of this? Do you know?
Don't know the underlying code.
Oh,
I've never been involved in coding, and at this point in my life, I do not wish to become involved in coding.
if I would last thing, what's it written in?
Don't know.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't know. There's so many different processors and custom chips for it. I have no idea what these guys are coding in.
Okay.
I probably could find out because I have a nephew that works for one of the major high-tech companies that does some kind of cloud engineering stuff that he's not allowed to talk about. But he probably could tell me some basics about artificial intelligence that would not be that part of it is probably something you can go pick up in a college these days. I don't think the basics of it are no longer proprietary.
There are probably patents around this now.
Oh, yeah,
They're
yeah.
very cautious about it.
Fiercely guarded.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And there was also a fierce battle between countries. The US, China, and Russia are locked into this enormously expensive battle as to who is going to produce the first AI first.
What a surprise. They're back again.
Well, it's not just national though, but the battle between companies is tremendous too.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And the interesting thing, so much of the stock market is in the top 7 or so stocks, the Magnificent Seven. They're all AI stocks.
Yeah.
And interesting angle of that is that if you want to invest in broadly, as the expert John Bogle tells you to do, and diversify, it's hard to do that if you invest in, say, the Russell 2000. Just buy all the stocks. You're still going to get something that's weighted towards those 7. So there goes your diversification. You're not buying a diversified. The whole industry could crash. A lot of this, I believe, if maybe not all, but a lot of this is a bubble. It's going to crash because they're overfinancing everything.
Oh, they are financing it. And the other thing is there's going to be a hell of a weed out.
Yeah, and there's obsolescence. They can't pay off the debt that they have, which is in the trillions of dollars, in time for the next generation to come in and make it all obsolete. So they'll be building something and they won't be able to finish it.
Yeah, it's the technology is emerging very fast, and governments around the world are pushing heavily on it because your intelligence people and your Department of Defense, of course, wish to have better AI than your adversary, obvious reasons.
Sure.
So it really is it's a completely wild new field.
And the amount of power they're putting into it is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be the next big thing is can we get the chip power consumption under control? And there's going to be billions of dollars dumped into doing that.
They have data centers now that require as much water as New York City, for example. And the power has to be there too. And then the cooling has to be there too. And then what's coming out of it is there's a lot of pollution. And then they're talking about sending them into space, which would solve a couple of those problems. But how are you going to get a rocket big enough to send it out into space? And how are you going to get the turnaround time, which has to be in microseconds, to still work after sending that information by radio waves to Earth?
Well, that becomes an issue. I mean, if you can get these things into orbit, the cooling problem goes away. And things are cold enough where chips will run much, much faster in that environment.
They're also exposed to cosmic rays, and who's going to fix them?
Well, that's the other problem. There's, the logistics are, yeah. I don't know. I got to look in Gernsback's books and see if he had any comments on computers in orbit.
He probably did. And AI goes back to at least to John von Neumann in the 40s and Turing. So they've been working on these problems for a long time.
Yeah, it really is an interesting thing.
Well, if it's that important, it'll probably be distributed among a number of these satellite things so that they sort of keep the whole thing up and running if one starts to choke and die or runs out of power. I mean, you could, as long as you distribute it like that, you'd have some immunity. You wouldn't have a single point failure.
I think they're going to try it, and I kind of hope they do. But of course, the risk that it won't work and that they'll spend billions and billions of dollars on that is there too.
Oh yeah, the resources that are going into it are mind-numbing, and some of it's gonna fall on its face.
It's all with AI money, or I mean, it's all with venture capital money for the AIs, and it's circular funding too. They're the companies that are all financing one another and buying each other's products. NVIDIA chips have to go into everything, for example. So at least they're making some hardware. Then there's companies like OpenAI, they aren't making anything else. So if they go bust, they're gone. There's who's gonna prop them up.
And I think there's going to be a lot of buying and selling too, because somebody's going to come up with one piece of technology that the other guy wants. So there's going to be some absorbing going on.
Sure.
Interesting. But I apologize. I didn't mean to get this thing going into the world of AI. It's a very, very interesting thing.
Communication.
We'll see. We'll see how much of a help or headache it becomes long term.
Well, I think the best advice was, check several of these systems, these AI systems, with the same question, and then compare the results.
Yeah, that's a very
finding out the implicit weakness with this.
That's a very real way to test.
Yeah, it is. And then wait, say, a month or an hour or two, and then do exactly the same exercise again and see if the responses change.
You can also ask the AI, make his role a critic of the system, and ask him what's wrong with the ideas that he just gave you.
And he will go back and do that.
Then it'll get
that is a completely legitimate technique.
Then it would go into an infinite loop, and the data centers would burn down.
It doesn't mind if you ask it to check itself.
Or it would stop the Earth, or try to stop the Earth from rotating and get frustrated and quit or something. But it's not going to be a person. I don't know if I should say this. It turns out that the processors that are used with these aren't that different in architecture from microcomputers some decades ago. And the key is the assembly language. That is, I shouldn't talk about this. It has an instruction set that's very common among many processors through time and now, even with these AI chips. And so they're Boolean operators. You can shift right, and perform Boolean operations, with the processor. And I was very curious about that, and so I finally found the operation codes for an AI processor. It's a microcomputer. Well, it's sort of, it's got peripherals on it, but these are all known decades ago. And so the assembly language is very similar with these. There are enhancements, there's parallelism and so on, but they're fundamentally very simple, or like what they always have been. And so it's going to come down to how it's programmed. But the hardware the architecture is the same between all of them.
Pretty much.
I mean, the hardware, but again, what's intriguing is they still have assembly language. It was hand coded, but it started in the mid 50s. And so it's been very fundamental, and it's still present even in AI processors. So I just have a question, can you actually mimic a human mind with that? Because it's coming down to hardware that can trace its architecture back to the 50s.
Well, one of them just passed the Turing test the other day.
Now, how did they do that? Did they know? How was it presented? I'm curious.
Well, the Turing test, the way I understand it, probably oversimplified, is you've got a person in a booth that's no windows or anything, and you have the computer on the other side of the booth or the person on the other side of the booth, and you get to ask him questions to find out what the responses would be and if the responses sound human. Now you can listen to various YouTubes and find out which ones are likely AI. It's pretty easy. It's getting easier because supposedly 40% of them are now AI. I would say it's probably more like 60%. And there's various things that you have to look for. Does the person that's talking to you have 6 fingers, 4 fingers, 3 fingers, or 9 fingers, for example? That's one of them. Do they keep elaborating and repeating the same thing? Do they take you back to those standard statements each time when you ask a question? Or can they come up with something new that's novel? And you ask these kind of questions. And if the person in the booth that's asking the questions, the interrogator, at the end of this interrogation thinks that the other person is responding exactly like a person does, and it turns out that the supposed person on the other side of the booth, remember it's blind, is really a machine, then that machine has passed the Turing test. Otherwise, it fails.
Yeah, it comes down to, can you tell that you're talking to a computer or a human being? Maybe not so much booths and stuff, but can you tell the difference? And that, interestingly, I wonder if that could be, script, text fields. Can you tell? I mean, I had a strange experience. Suddenly this thing wanted me to talk to it. I mean, again, referring to scripting. And I began to, I'm not sure where it came from or who it was, who, maybe I'm being recruited by the Soviets, I don't know. Anyway, it was intriguing. Huh. Oh well.
It's fascinating stuff, but it's a whole lot less fun than some of our hobbies.
Well, if just to finish is I could tell from its responses that it was responding to me, my styles, and it wasn't original. And so I finally asked it, "Are you an AI?" And it said yes. But it was the way it was. That's really interesting. It was based on patterns. I do something and then it would mirror that in a context. It was strange. So it's out there. I don't know. Maybe it thought I was a kid. I don't know.
It'd be interesting to see where it goes. It's early on. We'll see what it goes and what it does, and if we learn to use it properly as a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool.
Turing came up with this way back in the 40s, and you'd call it the imitation game. And it's got holes in it, of course. What capabilities does the observer have? How similar is the observer to the database inside of the machine that he's trying to interrogate?
Yep.
How good is the database? And that's why they keep improving the database.
That's what the AI component is the database. It would have to be.
But it's really, you're probably pickier than you know you are, because if you look at the YouTubes critically, you can usually tell
Oh, you
if
can
it's a
check it off.
fake.
If it's one,
You, the graphics are another giveaway. I was watching one about Russian missiles and the Russian space program, and they had U.S. rockets in there, and the same thing with the U.S. one. It had Russian rockets they were mixing in, and I used to love the Mercury program when I was a kid, and watch the progression of the rockets. So I knew that some of these rockets didn't match up. Then they put in one from a science fiction movie.
yeah.
It's a dead giveaway, you know.
Did they have a V2 as well? Often there's a V2 rocket.
Yeah, sometimes they would. You're right. Yeah, sometimes that would be in there too, and it close, but you know, a near miss. I mean, because after all, a lot of our rockets, the Atlas, for example, are just stretched V2s.
Yeah.
You know, so
Redstone was the next generation of V2.
yeah.
They were just told design something for a bomb. Okay, here you go.
Yeah, Alan Shepard's. Yeah, it really was.
That's what they used. You know, those were military boosters that were modified, which is what the Russians did as well.
Yeah, we're gonna put you on top of a firecracker and see how far you go. Okay, yes, sir.
Ooh, sort of frightening.
What's a little, and it bothers me quite a bit. I guess it's just, history and everything else. We did these things in the 1960s with limited computing power and a lot of guys running around with, as it was put earlier tonight, a sheet of yellow paper and a slide rule. And we were pretty successful in a pretty short period of time of being able to do some pretty spectacular things, like putting people on the moon and bringing them back. And now we're trying to do this again, and it's like we're starting from scratch. It seems like all the knowledge has been lost.
I think it has been.
It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe. I mean, somebody.
It's heartbreaking to see this having to start over, and and they're struggling.
Not completely though. There are you may have seen them online. There are people that have rebuilt the Apollo lunar landing computer.
Yes, yeah, that's fascinating stuff.
And you can even buy a simulation, or you can go to a website and they simulate the hardware too.
Interesting.
That's another whole aspect of museums, and the virtual side of that might even have some relationship to our interest in television.
Yeah, I know there was a group of guys out in Texas that had bought out a bunch of that stuff. It was sitting as basically sold as scrap from a government warehouse, and they were very delicately hand building the bubble memory chips because you can't get them anymore. They were trying to bring the Apollo guidance computers or portions of it back online. It was several years ago. I remember reading about that.
There was a fellow that started a lot of this stuff. He decided for his hobby he was going to build the Apollo computer, and then he ran into all these chips that he couldn't get, and he replaced those with TTL chips and redesigned it so it would work the same way. And then he was all done with it, and he was about ready to throw it away, and some of his neighbors said, "Hey, wait a second, do you realize what you have there?"
That guy's got some talent.
Yeah. I thought I was doing well, and I helped this guy from Israel that contacted me online. He had a Bang & Olufsen transistor radio that he was trying to repair for somebody, and he couldn't get this fidelity of the output transistors right because he didn't have the germanium transistors. They were unavailable. And I helped him redesign it for silicon. It ran on 7.5 volts instead of 9 volts, and the schematic was upside down and backwards, so I had to redraw the schematic to do that, but fortunately it was simple enough so I could understand it, and between the two of us, we got it going.
Did you tell them how to what do you have to redo the bias?
Yeah, you bet. On a push-pull stage, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But imagine how much more complicated it would be to try and replace big holes in a schematic that you couldn't fill And I don't know what he did with the core memory. I don't think he had to rebuild that too.
I wonder if he did some kind of substitution.
He probably did. But that would be to me even more intriguing to see than the software simulation, which itself is a whole work of technical art.
One of the guys that's with NJARC, we call him Professor Mike. It's Mike Whitman. He's a PhD down at Princeton University, teaches micromechanical engineering. And he did a seminar for us one night on circuit simulation software. Very interesting stuff.
That would be fascinating. When's the best time to join that New Jersey club? I've been thinking about that for a couple of years.
You can join it anytime you want. Just go to njarc.org. And we're still only $25 for a year. And that you're remote, so you of course would be able to watch our meetings, and not all our meetings are quite that interesting. I'll be blunt and honest about it, but some of them are pretty interesting, and we do have online resources of the meetings past, and Matt Reynolds is building all that up for us. He's kind of become our archivist at this point, but we do have a nice library of Sam's photo facts and such, and as a member, you're entitled to use those anytime you want.
Are those paper or are they virtual?
They're digitized. One of our guys painstakingly scans those things.
Yeah, that would be hard with the foldouts.
Yeah, in fact, he borrowed some of mine, and I was reluctant at first, but we need the documentation available to people. I've got a bunch of the TSM series SAMs. And so what he does is he painstakingly cuts the bindings off of them, high-res scans them, and then he comb bind them and ship them back to me.
Oh. I think that's what they do at World Radio History. I've seen their scanning equipment, and it's not flatbeds and it's not overheads either. The overhead scanners seem like they would solve the problem of fragile bindings that I have with looking at so many old books from the 20s and 30s, but it doesn't work right. The software is terrible. Yeah. So you almost have to unbind it, and I of course won't do that with bound books. But
no, that stuff that would be a terrible thing to do. There's so many of those copies of those SAMs floating around the world, and mine were not mint anyway, so I didn't mind too much seeing them get cut like that.
Yeah, I've got to look up some more Sam's photo facts on car reverbs, because I have a car reverb site along with my regular television site. And
interesting.
Yeah, it's that technology has always interested me, but and that's a whole nother sidetrack. Yeah, it's hard to find those, and they differed, but most of them were very simple, and they put out a lot of heat because the output was single-ended. And it's mostly germanium too, so it would all be obsolete, and it gives me the conversion practice, when I'm trying to figure out what silicon part will work instead.
Oh, that's interesting. What's your you have a website, James?
Yeah, HawesTV.com is the HawesTV.com. Yeah, it's got a menu on the very top page, and actually 3 or 4 menus on different things at HawesTV.com, and the top menu is on television, then it goes to other things like RFID and amplifiers and guitar amplifiers, guitar effects. I'm very interested in guitar effects. But that project is a book beyond the book that I'm working on for mechanical television, and I don't know if I'll be here for that one, frankly. We'll see if I can handle this one. I'm right now in the middle of a copyright kerfuffle with the Copyright Office for the last part of my article on Phonovision and vinyl video, and we're seeing where that will go, because part of that research is also part of my television book on different types of recording, early types of recording.
Sorry, James, have you got a publisher?
I have a publisher for the television book. I signed a contract with them many years ago, but the I've had to have 2 extensions already, so I'm hoping that I'm not going to wear out their patience.
Because I can provide you a publisher. My books are published for Elector, and they're always looking for authors.
Oh, Elector.
Yeah, Elector Publishing. They're Elector magazine.
Yeah, that's a good magazine.
Yeah, yeah. So I can provide you the details for them.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And also, just a heads up on the contract. Get your own legal. What do you call it? Get some copyright advice from your own lawyer, not their contract, because they can bind you for not writing for many years afterwards if you're intending to write again. So I was sort of what do you call it? I had a clause in there that I couldn't write for 15 years in my original contract, and I didn't. I went to an IP lawyer and they said, no, this is rubbish. You've got to get that modified. So I put the contract under my own terms. I had to pay a bit of money, not a hell of a lot of money, because you don't really make a lot of money in books, as you probably know.
Yes.
So I can certainly provide that information to you if you want to. How can I do it? Can I do it on this website here? But it's Elector Publishing. I can provide you my email or something and give you more publishing details.
Don't do that online. But if you want to
go,
if you want my contact information, go to my website, hawestv.com.
So how do you spell that again? I haven't got the spelling of it. Sorry.
HAWES. HAWES.
That's as in your second name.
Yeah. TV.
Yeah.
TV. Yeah.
.com.
Yeah. And that's one of my websites.
Okay, and you've got a contact.
There's a contact at the very bottom of the page. You can go to that link and
I'll send you all information. But Elector Publishing are quite good. They're always looking for authors on various things. So, like a whole host of stuff like, anything electronics and just put it to them and they will publish it for you and the publications go internationally. So it might be an idea just to approach them.
I'm thinking of Amazon too. I'm thinking of Amazon too in the future, but right now I'm with McFarlane.
But they do all that for you. They do all the publishing. They do everything. You're just going to ensure that all the pictures you provide are all copyright proof, and you haven't infringed any copyright laws. You're going to get approval by any pictures that you've taken or your own. That's fine, but anything sourced outside that, up to a certain, I think anything pre-1980 should be okay, but later issues, anything you source, you've got to use that in the bibliography, so on. But that can give you a bit of a guidance. They have a guidance type information on it on how to publish a book too. So if that helps you, I'm ready to provide that information to you.
Now, Paul, keep in mind that you could send, for example, if you wanted to give James your email address, you could start a new chat, and rather than sending it to everybody, you can send it to just
him.
Yeah,
I can send it via this chat here, can't I?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put anything confidential in there.
Yeah, I'd rather go through his website.
If you want to just share your email or something like that directly with him, that would be.
Yeah, I'll send it via his website. Then, if he's the only one on this group here that's not, that's only doing the publishing, then I'll send it to James only, just to keep it local with him, because he's it sounds like he's got a book ready to go. It's from what I understand.
This book is this book is still a couple of years out, I think.
It's still good information to have anyway.
Yeah. I've been working on it since 1975, so it's about time to kick this one out.
Then it could be a gem. So it's worth.
That'd be pretty well.
I did mine, but I did it. I intensified I did everything intensified. Like I've got a good memory, so I was able to, and I got a good library here, so I was able to just draw on all that. It was a really, what do you call it, work of labor. But you've got a big collection. It's worth. If I can help you, I'd love to help you.
Well, thank you. And the pictures, you're right. I'm in the midst of a discussion with a intellectual property lawyer about a picture.
Yeah, and they'll write the contract for you. Not the publisher have their own. They'll try to offer you a contract, but I don't normally take what they offer. And make sure you get
right now I already have that contract with that publisher. It's done. That's beyond,
Yeah,
that's
signed.
10 years in the past. So I've been working on it officially with them, and I've been writing them since the 1990s. So they're very
Yeah.
interested in hearing more. And
Yeah, okay, well, that's fine.
we've already
Anyway,
had a couple chapters go through, and they pruned off
Yeah.
a couple chapters on me, and I didn't think I had enough material after that, but I do. So they
Okay,
threw away
well,
a couple hundred pages already.
yeah.
You know,
Well, you
so
can compare anyway with this one I'm going to provide you.
yeah,
All right.
yeah.
No
We'll
worries,
see. Yeah, well,
James.
I've got more books in mind. I just don't have, humanity lasts only so long.
Yeah, I know that's. I think we've all got that problem, haven't we?
I think all of us involved in these hobbies are starting to come up against that deadline.
Yeah, yeah.
No
We
matter what you do.
don't know exactly when it's coming, but
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. I'll send that to you.
Yeah.
thank you,
I think
thank
we're
you.
No
Yeah,
worries.
the clock is
No
doing
worries.
some ticking here about,
yeah. I have a picture in the first page of the third part of the series on vinyl, video, and phonovision. If you saw that, it published in the newsletter, the museum newsletter, and it's the only page where I can go into personal research, because normally research writing is based on other references. But I had to adapt I wanted to find out how many radial lines were on these video discs. Their characteristic is they had radial lines going all around. And I thought for sure that those radial lines indicated the video lines. After each video line, there would be a bump or a depression on the disc. And I didn't have the disc to look at. They're so rare. There's only a few of them left that got through the Battle of Britain. And yeah, they were bombed out. They lost a lot of them. But I took the picture, and the pictures were very poor photographs. There were washouts in the picture where the light bounced off the surface of the record and caused a reflection. And you can't see the radial line at that point, so you can't count it. I had to modify the picture by going into high contrast and then mirroring part of the disc, and then putting them, emphasizing marks that were on each radial line. The radials were also crooked because the disc speed varied during recording. And these were all things that weren't in the article, I don't think, or maybe only some of them were. But anyway, I finally came out to the count of the disc, and I had never seen it in print before, and found out that there were 90 of these radial lines. And that was very, very interesting to me, but then it also led to another discovery, and that was why did they connect the scanner? It was a mechanical television scanner. Why did they connect the mechanical television scanner and run the disc recording mechanism off of that? Why did they do that? They usually used a synchronous motor in the scanner. So if that was a synchronous motor, they could plug another synchronous motor on the turntable recording the record into the wall, and both of them would sync over the line current. So why did they use a metal shaft? And it occurred to me finally, I had looked at different sync speeds, and they were different from the original research by other people. And I put that in with references in the article. But then I said, well, maybe they used a non-synchronous motor, and they needed the mechanical shaft because the motor would vary in speed, causing the disc to not sync up. And that was probably the reason, or that was one of the possibilities. Nobody knows the real reason because the equipment is gone. So probably a lot of detail that I didn't need to state, but those mysteries just come up when you examine the photographs. So they're very useful, and because a lot of photographs, as you mentioned, are still in copyright, I can't use them. But I think we're up to the year 1928 when most of the copyrights have expired unless they were renewed.
They expire. I think the expiry is long gone up to I think 1950. I quoted. I read a figure about 1950s. I think it's isn't that what you're talking about there? To save as houses in terms of any form of copyright. It's only the only thing I question a copyright. I wrote to Sony, I think it was, about circuit diagram from a manual I wanted to print for another electronic consumer item, and I never got a response from them. But the fact that you've sent them the email is your form of protection that you've advised them anyway. That was what I was told by the publishing group Electa.
Yeah, I'll have to, for that picture though, I had to go to an IP lawyer, and now she's going to tell me what this will need. Probably my research won't be enough, and we'll have to go into much more depth on this one photograph that I modified and see if my work is substantial enough that it will be copyrightable. So we have to go through the lawyer, the researcher, and then the Copyright Office itself.
Yeah.
And they're judge, jury, and executioner, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure also whether there's a clause about if you modify a picture enough that it bypasses the copyright law. If you put enough modification that so it's, I heard about that. It didn't happen in any of my cases, but if you modify the original picture enough that you don't have to you don't require a copyright, but you still reference it, of course, in the bibliography.
Yeah, you have to make sure that, yeah, you have to make sure of all those things, and then it has to go through a lot of people's hands between now and then. So that means a lot of money and a lot of time, and
exactly. But
the Copyright Office can throw it out. So yeah, I've already had some lengthy discussions with them about what constitutes a table and what constitutes art, for example.
Yeah.
And that's a little daunting and confusing to me, but I'm beginning to understand better.
Gentlemen, it's been a great conversation. I would love to stick in, but I get up early these days and I'm starting to fade pretty fast. So I'm going to have to go get some shut-eye. And James, I look forward to taking a look at your site, and hopefully you'll find something of interest to you on the NJRC website, like the SAMs or something like that, that maybe can help you.
Thank you, Paul. Good night.
Good night, folks.
See ya.
Good night. Good night.
I might get going now, everyone. Great interest in a lot of things said here, so I might head off as well. I know it's morning, but it's I've got to go and do some things outside. So yeah, all of you have a good night or day, or wherever it is at your time in the world.